What's up, everyone? Sunnyvale here, continuing my Worlds prep with some more replay analysis. I'm playing Reap Animator again. So this hand is obviously... Oh, right. I'm going to let it play the first time without making any commentary, and then the second time I'm going to go through and actually commentate on it. I guess I can say something about the deck is that I've been pretty impressed with this version of Reanimator. I like it a lot more than the Ikaria one because Severin serves as another card that's similar to Azendel that can get you back multiple cards from the void. And granted, it is a little awkward because you run out of board space pretty quickly. I think it's pretty good. Also, the fact that it gains you life immediately is a pretty big deal. It also gives you charge for Azendel and also to pressure decks that are relying on Harsh Roll. So I'm pretty happy with this list. I made a couple changes since yesterday. I suppose I'll make sure that's reflected in the Eternal Warcry post. Anyway, I'll see you in like however many minutes when this game concludes. Okay, so I think that that went pretty well, but I think well, it wasn't like a slam dunk easy victory. I don't think. Maybe it was, but it certainly didn't start off looking that way. So the first hand's obviously unkeepable. Let's see. There we go. I don't even have the influence to play the Blight Moths, so even if I do think they're good, they're not going to do anything. This hand, it looks really awkward, but I think it's actually pretty good because um, well, I'm going to get to mill 4 between the Spite Feeder and the Chairman's Contract. And assuming that I hit another shadow, so this hand just needs a merchant. I've got 6 merchants, and any of them are good. It's also really good if I hit an hourglass. And so that gives me 10 really good hits and makes this hand just totally fine. It doesn't have everything it needs immediately, but it doesn't need a whole lot to start looking really good. Because if I hit a merchant, then I can, if I have the 4th shadow, I can go Vara and just get back a bunch of powers from the void, then hardcast Vara. Sorry, I can go Katra, get back a bunch of powers from the void, then hardcast Vara. And if I got an hourglass, I basically get to do the same thing. Or if I don't hit any powers in the void, that probably means that I have units in there, which means that I can merchant for grasping. So like this is actually, I think, a reasonable hand. It's not insane, but I think it's a fine keep. Even though it's not the slam dunk like vow into hourglass into something you can ramp into. Anyway. Okay, so they lead with the crest. Swearfolk is definitely a good hit there. Vara, I wanted to bottom because I already have a Vara in hand. So I just don't think that having 2 does that much for me, especially when I'm really looking for a merchant. So that's why I bottomed it. Merchant and Hourglass are the 2 cards that I'm really looking for here. Rat Cage. Grandin Drone. Okay, so here I could play Back Alley Delinquent if I'm worried about like a Blight Moth or something preventing my ability to block. But I would rather not have my opponent know that the sabotage is coming, and also when you play Back Alley, when you play Back Alley Delinquent a turn earlier, you have a worse decision to make. So Void has, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, Severin and Blightmoth. Severin's the big deal there. All right, trying to carve it. Okay, so here, I think a little while, mostly about what I'm discarding to Back Alley Delinquent. And the reason why I discard... wait, do I discard Severin? Or do I discard the Spiteling? At some point, I get rid of this Severin. Maybe it's the market decision a turn later. But I'm like, yeah, this is not really necessary. I think I do get rid of the Spiteling here. I don't really need my Void to be that much more stacked. I mean, like, yeah, it's nice, but it's doing the least here. So that's why I get rid of it. Sabotage, it hits something, which is good. So, like, playing Severin on 6 is pretty good here, but I'm going to have access to it with the Vara at some point, so it's not desperate. Like, if I know that I have a quick path to Vara, I can just ditch the Severin here, but not otherwise. If they attack, I'm blocking. They looked like they were going to attack for a second there. I just call them. I don't have Katra, but that's going to change very quickly. Maybe that means that blocking isn't correct, but I don't think I can predict that I'm going to see that merchant on top of my deck. So you have this and nothing. So there's the merchant. I have to think for a while, and then I'm like, okay, so what's going to happen is I'm going to play merchant for Katra. If I can keep most of my board intact, then I'm just going to have a ton of power, and I can play Vara for when I want to get the Severin. So this Severin is redundant. I don't need it. I know it's tempting to throw away the power here, but that's the 4th shadow that I would need. for Katra. The other choice is the Treasure Trove. I don't think there's a world where you throw away the Vara here. Okay, so now I'm thinking that no matter what my opponent does, I'm not blocking because I need my board as intact as possible, and I don't want to be blown out by something like Blight Moth or Vara's Favor, or my opponent played a Fire Coin. Any of those are things that I don't want to have to deal with. Okay, so they go to the market, and I'm really curious about what their market decision was because it never showed up in the game. Maybe they DC'd, that's possible, but like you have to imagine it's something that's good at, or like at least useful against Reanimator. All right, so I think about playing the crest here because I'm not going to use the power, but um, the reason I didn't is because one, you gain an extra life off of Katra. Second of all, I am going to be milling myself with the chairman's contract, so like the scout is just eaten up. It just means that I don't have a undepleted power for next turn, but I am playing like I'm going to get 4 power this turn. I'm going to have 9 power to start my next turn. So I'm not too worried about not having a depleted power or not having undepleted power, having only depleted power for the next turn. So I do that with Katra. She's big. I have a ton of power in play. I have Vara in hand. I'm pretty happy unless they get rid of the Vara. And even if that happens, I've got Scout into draw. So I'm pretty happy with my situation here. I suspect almost might have timed out here. If there's an attack or something, I'm just looking to trade off resources because I think that with Vara coming in down, I'm going to be able to recoup any losses I have. So the rest of the game, nothing really happens. They time out this turn. Maybe they were going to do something, but at 5 power, I don't know what they could have really done to get me. Here's Vara, going for another Vara. 7. I'm getting everything back this turn anyway. I do make a mistake here after the scout because it's going to get dropped because of the spite feeder. I should have just bottomed it. Like I didn't need that hourglass, but it's not like it's doing anything in my void anyway. Okay, so I've got a gigantic board. I think it's pretty much unassailable at this point. I'm gaining 6. Yeah, I think we're good, and that's the game. So it did come together, but I think I would like to believe that I navigated the early game well enough to let that happen. So I'm pretty happy with the way that this game played. A few things I could have done differently, but overall, like, I'd be interested to see if people have good insight on things I should have done differently. All right, thanks for tuning in. Probably tomorrow, I'm guessing that I'm going to try to play something else because I've been on Reanimator twice, and I know that a lot of people are growing tired of it. So we'll see. All right, see you next time. Bye.